Culture. We're exposed to so many versions of it in the US, but do we have a version of our own? Do we still tend to have a sense of pride? Do we see cultural pride as a good thing anymore? I want to find out. What do Americans think about culture? Also, what do Central and South Americans think about culture? But before we get to Central or South America, I'll start with the United States of America. I went to 3 locations in the Washington, D.C. area to ask random people about culture: the National Mall in D.C., George Mason University in Virginia, and the National Harbor in Maryland. So, what did they have to say? Are you from DC? Or are you from another part of the US?
No, I'm not. I'm from Ireland.
Ohio.
From New Jersey.
I'm from New Jersey.
Born and raised right here.
No, I'm born and raised here.
I am from the DC area.
I am actually from a lot of places from US, but if I were to say, I'd say Atlanta.
I'm from the DC area. I'm from India. I'm from the south. It's called Kerala.
I'm from Japan.
I'm from Indiana. I come from West Lafayette. It's where Purdue University is.
I'm from Maryland.
So I'm from Maryland, between Baltimore and DC.
So I'm actually just right over at Virginia.
I am from the DC area, in Virginia, yeah.
I'm like 30 minutes from DC. I live in Gainesville, Virginia.
I'm from Central Virginia. It's a lot more rural, a lot less people.
Virginia. Yes, it's Mexico City.
I was born in Mexico, but I grew up here in the States between the Bay, California, and Harrisburg, PA.
I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina.
Actually, I'm from Washington State, south of Seattle.
An important part of culture is vocab. What is some slang from your area?
It's not really like terms, I guess. They're more phrases. Like if we're driving down like the highway or something, there's some construction. I always go like, what are they putting in over there? And usually people are like my friends who are from New York, they're always like, what? I mean, how do you expect us to know this? But in Indiana, if you ask that, you're gonna get an answer of like, oh, well, I heard it's gonna be this restaurant or whatever. So that's a common like phrase, I think, that's very Midwestern.
I think something typical, or what it's most famous for, infamous even, is just the word hella. I know it's used all over, but I think hella is kind of synonymous with the Bay.
I think a phrase that I've been told that I say a lot is "it's grand." That's like the answer for everything. Like, how are you? I'm grand. Like, how was your day? Oh, it's been grand. Can you do this assignment for me? Yeah, sure, no problem. That's grand. Like, I say that a lot, and my friends say it a lot. So that's like something I think a typical Irish person might say. There was once actually, I don't know if it's common here, but I said when it was raining, I said, "Oh, it's lashing out," and my coworkers were kind of like, "What?" And we had a downpour just there, and in my head I was like, "Oh, it's lashing." But I feel like they didn't really understand what that meant, and I just meant, oh, it's like it's raining really heavily.
That's a tough one. Honestly, I think it's like a culmination of so many different things and cultures. I don't really know if there's one single word I could say to something that someone would say to tell me that they're from here, because everyone's from somewhere so different.
Well, people say y'all and ain't a lot. Ain't is just or not, pretty much. Y'all is you all. Been talking to everybody.
So instead of saying you guys, you would say y'all are just crazy and stuff like that.
A lot of stuff that's said is a lot of southern slang, I guess.
It's just the regular stuff that people say, what up dog, to what's up. Let's just say I went from the old school to the new school, but I still keep using them. Honestly, outside of the US, people would know because we used to watch Looney Tunes. And the only one who says "What's up, Doc?" is the rabbit.
For some reason, like all my friends I've met at school around here uses the word waffling, but I think that's more of an inside joke where when someone keeps talking and talking, you're like, what are you waffling about? It sounds kind of stupid, but I've been hearing it a lot.
So in the automotive culture, there's this saying called tooted or squatted. It's big in like truck culture. It's where they drop the back end of the truck down. I don't have a truck that's like that, but that's what a lot of the younger youth does in the area. It's like their personal trucks. It's more for like show. Really depends on the person if they have it like all the way to the ground or if it's just like a little bit.
Yes, I have heard certain phrases that I don't like. Certain phrases are very cool. Like when I came to this country, my colleagues that I worked with, they said sucks. I didn't understand what that means. So I heard like socks. So, and then later on I understood the meaning, but it's not a cool language to use it.
Hip? I don't. I've heard people use it, but I mean, I don't. Isn't it like you're down, like, or something like that?
I mean, you're on board, you know, like I'm hip to whatever. That's how I've used
Right,
it.
see, you've never heard that before, right? Or like
I've never heard that definition.
You've never heard that definition?
No.
How do you use
like,
it?
That's what like my mom says, like I'm trying to be hip or something.
Okay.
Bueno, en México se dice órale o vente. Se usa mucho el vente, güey. Güey quiere decir amigo. Ajá.
¿Y qué significa eso de órale?
Pues que ya está uno listo. Que ya está uno ready.
Something like jai like, and jai means very. So like, it's not used sometimes like very, but it's jai hot, so it's very hot. So something like that.
For Maryland, I would definitely say Mo. Mo could be anybody, like, hey Mo, look over there. Like, it could be anything, like.
Mo. Yeah. It's just, it's like DC's version of like bro, or you know, homie, dog, you know. Mo is just straight DC.
Grunge is a huge one. That's where it like kind of got invented. Yeah, alternative music. Everything's kind of surrounded about music there.
Like
yeah,
that,
Pearl Jam. Yeah, and Jimi Hendrix was even from there too. Yeah. It's kind of like a toned down version of rock, but with a lot more meaning than like the '80s hair bands and stuff had. Yeah, but kind of depressing too.
She was like, "You want to go get hoagies?" So I was like, "What the? What is that?"
Hoagie. It's just basically it's just a sandwich and like the rolls, and the bread rolls.
It's the exact same thing. It's just a regular
It's the
sub.
same thing, but
It's
you just call it a
hoagie.
hoagie. Yeah. And then I guess something different here than in New Jersey that we don't pump our own gas. Yeah. We don't pump our own gas. That's a good thing. It was nice.
Oh,
it's
is it?
nice. Yeah, it's really nice. I sometimes forget that.
If someone is interested in visiting your country as a tourist, what place do you recommend them to visit?
Probably the Jersey Shore. If they go up along the Hudson River, that separates New York City from New Jersey, Jersey City, Weehawken, anywhere along the Hudson River where you can see the New York City skyline. It's a great place to go.
I think that New York is fun, like for the first time. It's like so nice, but I think that somewhere that isn't so developed is probably my favorite place. But if you're a first timer, I'd probably go New York, but not focus on the Big Apple, because the Big Apple is just like you go there to shop. There's just shops and stuff. It's not really a lot of other stuff to do. So you probably travel around and you see more of upstate New York, the nature, like the trails.
So I think I would have to instead recommend somewhere from Philadelphia, which is where I just moved from and lived more recently. But if you're ever in Philly, what I recommend you see is South Philadelphia. It's on South and 9th, especially if you're Mexican. They call it Little Mexico there. Some of the best food you'll have. Old City's beautiful. I loved Woody's in Philadelphia, one of my favorite scenes. It's for nightlife. The downtown, it's Rittenhouse Square.
I would definitely say this area, the harbor, this is definitely a tourist attraction. Alexandria is literally past the bridge.
Probably a national park. I really like going to Shenandoah just because the greenery is really beautiful, and it's really nice. Or seeing the cherry blossoms in DC, like every March, I think is really nice. I try to go like at the peak week every single year.
In Ohio, there's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if you like, rock and roll music. There's the Air Force Museum, which is in my hometown. There's a lot of amusement parks, so if you're into roller coasters and those types of things. So, as well as sporting events if you're, like American football or baseball or things like that.
Well, me personally, I would probably say San Diego in California, because my family, we always go there. It's the best tourist spot. They have like good food from like everywhere. Very, very diverse, so you can get like a mixture of little everything. Nice weather, and then obviously DC. It's just like, It's diverse. There's so many sites, there's museums, there's so much history there too, especially since Virginia is close by. We don't really get that in California, so.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Virginia Beach, especially on like July 4th. That's a great tourist place if you're visiting Virginia. There's Springfield Mall, so great place for shopping and whatnot. So yeah, that's off the top of my head.
A lot of people don't think there's a lot of things in Indiana, and they are right. I definitely would choose to go to DC over Indiana for a vacation any day. But if you do go to Indiana, you're gonna want to go to this really little natural preserve called the Black Rock. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's on the Wabash River, which is huge, I know, but it's right near my house. And it is my favorite place on this earth. It is so beautiful. And the history there of it, we live right on the trail that William Henry Harrison took to go and battle with the Potawatomi. You know, the prophet comes, so it's like that's the whole like identity of that area. And the Black Rock is a rock formation where the Native Americans set up security and kind of like a watchtower almost. And they sat there because it's really well hidden when the foliage, it's well hidden from the river, and they could send like a fire signal upstream to let them know when the colonists were coming down the river. And it's just beautiful. It's my favorite place on earth. There's like little cavern, like it's not big at all, but there's like a little few caverns you can crawl into. And I just think that even living in America, I think that those hole-in-the-wall places, anytime you visit somewhere, is the best part of the experience versus the like tourist traps. Because anywhere you go in America, it's going to be like capitalist and commercialized. Also, everywhere you go, there's small businesses, and you can interact with the locals. And I think that ultimately, if your goal is just to like see the monuments, like definitely do that. It's definitely worthwhile. But if you want to go a little bit deeper, going farther out into Virginia or Maryland, or even taking like the Amtrak up to like Boston or something, you know, just getting to see what the natural habitat is of people who live here, I think is really worthwhile.
I would say Western United States, where the Grand Canyon is, Arizona. There's a lot of national parks in that area, a lot of beautiful canyons. That's a really great place. Also, probably New York. I would definitely recommend. It's a great city.
I think from my experience, I would say Florida. Florida was nice. Like because you have Disney there, you have Universal, you have many places that you can go to, and a lot that you can like experience down there. It might not be like, you just need to find like the right spot in Florida. So like probably like Miami or Orlando. Those are probably good spots.
Yeah, this is definitely a good little DMV area because it's like in between DC, Maryland, and Virginia. There's plenty of restaurants. Most of these restaurants, I guess they're self-owned, such as business-owned. Of course, we got Fogo de Chao. We got Rosa, which is a Mexican spot. Yeah, if you get tired of Mexican, you can go get Italian. If you're tired of Italian, you can go to Fogo de Chao. There's so many different things you can do around here.
I think, okay, if you go to Ireland, of course you're going to go to Dublin. Everybody goes to Dublin. They're going to see things around there, walking on the Liffey, see Trinity College, which is where I go. But I do think if you go to Ireland, do not just stay in Dublin. You have to go visit any other small town, or at least take a drive in the countryside, because it is so different. Like half an hour outside of Dublin, you're surrounded by green. It's green fields, green forests. It's beautiful. So take a trip, I don't know, to Waterford or Clonmel. Go to especially the West Coast. The West Coast is really beautiful, and it's just like, it's so wild. They call it the Wild Atlantic Way there. So go to Ireland, stop in Dublin, but do venture outside Dublin. I've heard so many people say they've been to Ireland, and they say, oh, I was in Dublin, and I say, oh, were you anywhere else? And they go, no. And I'm like, you have to see the countryside there. It's the best part.
I would definitely say Vermont, up near Estes Park and stuff like that. I mean, maybe it's because I grew up here, and again, that kind of impartiality to being on the East Coast.
Forts. Get a state, get a fort, you learn the history. Forts. You want to go outside? Forts. You'll get views. You'll get people to talk to. You'll learn, you'll see a culture of United States of America. Forts are forts. You can go to Pentagon, it's a fort. You can go to, there's a fort in, I think, Fredericksburg or Gaithersburg. I think it's Gaithersburg with the, I don't know, what city was it? But it's up to the viewers to decide. They'll know. Search Virginia battle history. You'll know.
My favorite place is probably Wakachina. It's pretty close to Ica. It's basically this oasis in the middle of the desert. And when my parents first took me, my dad ran with me across the sand dunes. I think now you can take cars up there, and it's definitely more tourists, but I think it's pretty. It's a small area. Machu Picchu is beautiful too. I think it's one of the most beautiful things I've seen, though you have to be careful with altitude when you go over there, because even I myself have gotten pretty sick because it's just pretty high up there.
I know this is kind of an odd question. Are you proud to be from your country?
Claro, 100% me siento orgulloso de ser mexicana.
Yes, of course. I love Ireland.
Yeah, all day.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I'd say that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm proud to be from the US.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd say so. I know it has its flaws and stuff, but I mean, at the end of the day, we have freedom, we can do this, so I mean, it's nice, yeah.
Yes, I came here in 1992. US is pretty good. It's like my adopted mother gave me a lot of opportunities. I understand is if you work hard, you can survive anywhere.
Yes, there's some things that I don't agree with, but I'm proud to be American.
No. I can answer that.
Okay.
I am. Okay.
You start and then.
I mean, it's okay.
You said no.
I'll probably move later, but right now it's cool.
Some of the time, I think that sometimes we can embarrass ourselves on an international standpoint, specifically with how our leaders act. It really kind of depends.
Sometimes. I say sometimes because my family originally were immigrants. They immigrated from Poland and Italy in the early 1900s. So their struggles in overcoming it, and they were Catholic, they were European immigrants, they were, sectioned off from the rest of society. So their struggles that they went through, I'm proud to say that our family has established itself here, and we have a huge thriving family. But then I also, I'm history is my first love, and any historian knows that any giant empire was created through exploitation of some form. And so that is kind of a region where I think that I'm not so proud of American history. So it's kind of on what scale, individually I am proud to be an American, but on a scale of who America has exploited throughout its history and how it's done that and how it continues to do that, I would say I'm not so proud of that. So
I think it's a balance. I find myself being more blindly patriotic with Mexico only because I grew up here. It's easier to criticize a country in which you grew up. But I am deeply proud to be American, and I would say it's quite equal, even if I am more critical at times of the U.S.
I don't know if I necessarily connect with being I'm not sure what the American pride necessarily is. I grew up in a Peruvian household, so I'm very proud to be Peruvian American. I think the good thing about America is there's so many different cultures, and just cultural diffusion between multiple backgrounds and ethnicities.
I don't know if you can be proud to be from the U.S. right now, just the way that they've treated the rest of the world sometimes. Or I just went to the Native American Indian Museum and saw what U.S. did in the past to the Indians, how they slaughtered them basically, and it's just horrible. So it's I'm kind of more proud of my heritage coming from Scotland and England, and then on my grandma's side she was Cherokee Indian. So I'm kind of more proud of that than being called U.S. citizen.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up here and whatnot, so I consider myself American. We've got some flaws like obesity and whatnot. Paying for, people, there's a debate on the healthcare system and the school system and whatnot. But overall, I'd say the quality of the healthcare and school, it makes up for it, in my opinion. Definitely could be some better things, though. I agree about that. You don't really take it for granted, especially if you travel to other places and whatnot. So I was in like Asia for a bit, right? And coming back here, you just appreciate the environment a lot more. Makes you just cherish everything.
Yeah, I think so. I think that there are issues, but I think that we're headed in a better direction, and I think that we're aware of our issues. The fact that there's a clash right now, I think is good because it shows that people are trying to progress rather than something being suppressed, or there's other areas where people are more heavily suppressed or oppressed.
What part of your country or culture makes you most proud to be from your country?
I would say definitely our culture, because it's like the DMV, we have so many different things. We have different slang, we have our own music, we have go-go. It's just different.
You know, you say food and people, and I would say honestly both of those. You come to America, you can find so many different type of people, so many different types of ideas. Food-wise, it's the same thing. You can find so many different types of foods. It doesn't have to be from America, but it's brought over here and given a little twist. You can hop around, and then with people, you never know who you're going to meet. You can meet someone one day, and then like in Washington, D.C., it's such a vastly changing city that you can come around, talk to one person, have some set of ideas, and then talk to somebody in the next 30 minutes to 50 minutes, even 5 minutes, and they'll have a completely different set of ideas.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure this isn't common to every state, every place, every thing. But the people you meet here are like, they're not nice per se, but they will help you. They will help you in any situation you're in. They will basically, if you're like stuck somewhere, they'll give you directions. It doesn't matter if it's out of their way, they're running out of time going to a meeting or something. They will tell you, oh, you need to go to like the town hall or something. They'll point you in your direction. They're not gonna be impatient about it. And I couldn't tell you if like maybe you're from downtown, like a city or something. Maybe someone will have the time to tell you the directions. But most of the time, if you're in the suburbs or rural area, sometimes in the urban area, they'll be nice. They will point you in the direction you need to go, and they will help you out with whatever situation you're in.
Japanese good culture is a pride. Ojigi. Japanese ojigi. Do you know ojigi? Ojigi. If I meet a person, first and ojigi. Pride. Yeah. Not shake hands. Hands down.
Formal.
Yeah.
It's respect.
Yeah. It's so culture is very respect. But Japanese is don't have an opinion. Different person saying that, oh, me too.
I'm proud that I'm from a place where everyone can bring their traditions and their culture and religion to be able to interact with each other, because I know it's not like that for every single country. Sometimes it's more homogenous, but I'm very proud to be in a place where everyone can hopefully express themselves instead of just, I'm not sure if there's a whole American idea to be proud. Especially at this school, I think living near a city, it's good because I see a lot of this generation trying to push for more voices to be heard. I think the expo is tomorrow, but I've seen a lot of advertisements for different cultures or different beliefs to be able to, have a community where they can connect with each other. And everyone's been pretty accepting here, so I guess I'm proud at the level of just open-mindedness that this place has.
I will say that where I'm from, people tend to be a lot more closed-minded, so I don't have too much pride in that. They tend not to want to pursue higher education, but in areas like here in Northern Virginia, I'd say I would have a lot more pride in being in my country if we were talking about this area, I guess. Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of diversity. I've been to a lot of places around the United States, specifically cities like New York City and DC. They're very diverse. They have a lot of different cultures, and I think that would be something I'm most proud of.
I guess opportunities, man. It doesn't even necessarily have to be jobs, you know. It's just you have a better chance of achieving whatever you want to achieve out here than really anywhere else. It's a little easier, yeah, I think. No. I mean, everybody should be proud. I'm Ethiopian.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? I'm proud to be an Ethiopian. I'm born and raised in, America, United States, but my culture is me. You know what I mean? That's my blood, that's my history, that's my past, that's my family. So I'm very proud to be an Ethiopian, but I'm both proud to be an Ethiopian and an American. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, you can't be mad at somebody for being proud of where they're from. I mean, I'm Ethiopian all day. I mean, I'm proud to be both from here and from there. So I mean, wherever you're from, be proud.
What I'm proudest about in Mexico is the national pride. There's this very strong tie to our community and our heritage. I think it's quite beautiful, and it's a very rich culture. The U.S., due to the fact that it's a melting pot, doesn't have it. At least it's not as homogenous as it is in Mexico. What I like most about the States is probably the fact that dissidence is taken more seriously. I think it's easier to have a conversation here than it is in Mexico. But yeah, I think both are fascinating in their own right. Even in Mexico, there is still a great sense of awareness, which the U.S. lacks at times. At times, I think it has to do with the fact that we have our understanding of history is deeper. We understand the history of colonization, how the indigenous were affected, the fact that the indigenous are still present. That's absent from the U.S. culture and has its own implications. But yeah, I do think that the U.S. has a unique culture tied to how seriously we take the freedom of speech.
Pues un punto es la comida, la bandera mexicana, la gente que es muy, o sea, allá en México, o sea, la familia toda tiene así valores familiares, que aquí no hay. Aquí a trabajar y allá no, allá hay todavía, hay núcleo familiar y todo eso, es lo que uno se siente así orgulloso así de México.
I'm proud of like every Peruvian I've met, and what my family has taught me is try to treat everyone like family. Like our goal is to make people feel comfortable, so like a big thing is we'll cook for them. I'm trying to learn recipes so I can cook for some of my friends on campus, and just try to be like part of a community, even if we come from different places. It's just, I think a big Peruvian value is to be hospitable.
I mean, I think it's the people. I mean, again, I work at a very diverse group of people, and getting to see, I'd say all the cultures blending in my workplace, and even where I live is it's neat to taste other foods and experience other people's cultures, holidays, things like that.
Most proud of is probably the legal system here. In other countries, there's a lot of stuff like you're actually guilty until proven innocent in other countries, but over here, being innocent until proven guilty, that's something I really am proud about.
I think, well, probably because I'm from a small town it makes sense, but just like the sense of community that you have. Like in my small town there's the GA pitch, which is like the football club, and everybody knows everyone, everybody's friends, everybody, I went to a small primary school, so you grow up with these certain amount of people and you kind of get to know everybody. It's always nice going home and knowing like, oh, I know this person and they're my neighbor and I play football with them and stuff. So just that sense of community is really nice, I think. Yeah, you get very comfortable with it and you get very used to the people around you, which is why it was nice to kind of branch out a bit over summer and see other places. But yeah, just that sense of home.
Like freedom of speech. I mean, you can say what you want without being persecuted for the most part. If you're a minority, that's not always the case sometimes, which is a shame. But probably freedom of speech and freedom to kind of be who you are. expression, the way you dress, the way you want to dress, speak your mind. That's not always the case when you travel to other parts of the world. So that's pretty, unique about the United States.
I'm ashamed of the bad things, but I've been to a lot of other countries, and being born in the U.S., whether you're poor or immediate means or rich, it's still a life of ease compared to a lot of places in the world. So I wouldn't want to be born anywhere else. It's been a great life so far. Freedom is a beautiful thing. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion. Let us serve like I believe in God, so being able to publicly witness to people and talk to people about the Bible is a huge freedom that I'm entailed by, people going to war and giving us our freedom. So I appreciate freedom as a huge one.